For 6 straight hours, you've been locked on the same 14 crime scene photos. Not because they confuse you, but because they don't. You understand them far too well. On paper, the victims have nothing linking them together. Different neighborhoods, different ages, different backgrounds, even different official causes of death. But the staging, exactly the same every single time. Chillingly the same. Whoever did this has been operating for years, careful enough, clever enough, disciplined enough that no one else has seen the pattern. No one except you. His name is Daniel. Daniel, a respected high school biology teacher with a spotless reputation, a mortgage, and a golden retriever named Lincoln. Ordinary, dependable, forgettable, right? That's what makes it so terrifying. For nearly 10 years, he's been murdering women who resemble his ex-wife. You know it because you spent the last 3 weeks buried in fiber comparisons, entry wound angles, and soil samples pulled from 6 separate jurisdictions, fitting each tiny piece together until the truth became impossible to ignore. You know things the way you always do, quietly, thoroughly, and completely alone. The system missed him. You won't. There are rules to what you do. You didn't create them. Your father did. He was a cop who spent 30 years watching guilty people slip through the cracks and walk away untouched. He taught you something most people would never understand. The impulse itself isn't the problem. The impulse is only energy. Direction is what matters. His rules were brutally simple. Never go after anyone who doesn't deserve it. Be absolutely certain before you act. Don't get caught, and never ever let it become personal. You followed them without exception, and you have no intention of failing now. Your father has been dead for 11 years, but sometimes when you're sitting alone in the lab at midnight, spraying luminol over dried blood from someone who never should have died, you can still hear his voice as clearly as if he were standing beside you. You wonder whether he'd be proud. Then you shut that thought down. Proud isn't the point. The point is that Daniel is still out there, breathing easily, living normally, and victim number 15 hasn't happened yet. Your job is to make sure it never does. The lab is silent at this hour. Musa left at 7, which means his half-eaten container of pad thai is still abandoned on the edge of his desk, and his DNA is probably smeared across at least 11 surfaces he'd be absolutely horrified to know about. He's the best forensic tech you've ever worked with, and also the loudest person you've ever met. Somehow, impossibly, those two things exist in perfect balance inside a man who once teared up during a fabric softener commercial and then denied it so fast it was almost impressive. He trusts you completely. That trust might be the most useful thing in the entire building. You pull up Daniel's credit card history in the department database. 3 gas stations along the same route. Dates that match victim locations within a 12-hour window every time. Is it proof? Not yet, but the structure of it, the way every detail locks into place like a design that was always there waiting to be seen, that isn't random. You've done this too long not to recognize coincidence. This isn't coincidence, not even close. You need one final piece. You need to see him with your own eyes. So you follow him for a week. Not dramatically, not like some cheap movie scene with sunglasses and newspapers. You're smarter than that, colder than that, more patient. You sit in the school parking lot and watch him move through his routine, every step measured, every gesture ordinary. And that's the worst part, isn't it? He looks exactly like a man with nothing to hide. He moves through the world with that easy charm people trust without even thinking about it, the kind that looks natural but is really practiced to perfection. He holds the door for the teacher walking behind him, calls students by name like each one matters, smiles at exactly the right moments, and laughs when he's supposed to. It's smooth, believable, almost impressive, if you didn't know better. But you do. You watch his hands more than his face. They never shake, never fidget, never betray him. That's what matters. Most people have no idea what to do with their hands when they lie. Daniel always does. And that tells you everything, doesn't it? On Thursday night, he drives into a neighborhood 12 miles from his house and parks 2 streets away from where victim number 11 used to live before she was reduced to a number in a file. He stays in the car for 40 minutes, just sits there. Then he starts the engine and heads home like nothing happened, like he was never there at all. You remain in your own car, writing down the time, the coordinates, every detail that matters, and you feel almost nothing except that deep, sharp certainty that settles in your chest when you know you're right. You've been right before, you'll be right again. The preparation takes 2 weeks. It has to. You are never careless because carelessness is how people get exposed, and getting exposed means getting stopped. And if you stop, Daniel doesn't. So you plan everything. You secure a vehicle through channels that can't be traced back to your name. You locate the site, a storage facility he owns, through a shell company no one else has uncovered yet, because no one else has been looking hard enough. You map the entry and exit points, compare them against shift changes, traffic flow, and every possible interruption. Then you run through every way it could fail, and when you're done, you do it all over again. Because what if you miss something? What if one mistake is all it takes? At 9 in the morning, Masuka finds you slumped at your desk and tells you that you look like you haven't slept. He's right, of course he is. Without asking, he sets a cup of coffee beside your hand and asks whether you want to grab lunch later. You tell him maybe, and both of you understand that means no. He gives a small nod and heads back to his side of the lab. You watch him go and think, not for the first time, how much simpler everything would be if you were built like him. Open, loud, uncomplicated, the kind of person who tears up at commercials and actually means it. But you're not. You stopped asking why a long time ago. Dokes notices you leaving late on a Wednesday. He notices everything. That's the problem with Dokes. He's the sharpest detective in the building, and for the last 6 months he's been irritated by you in a way that feels personal, even if he can't explain it. He doesn't like you. Fair enough. People who know how to read others usually sense that something is off about you, even when they can't put a name to it. And Dokes reads people very, very well. He stops you in the parking garage, quiet as a shadow, appearing beside your car the way he always does when he wants to make a point without making it official. You've been here late a lot lately, he says. Cold cases, you answer. Backlog. He studies you for a long moment. Not exactly suspicious, not quite. It's more like he's trying to place you, like he's seen something in your face before and can't yet remember where. Which cases, he asks. You tell him 3, real ones. Cases you've actually been working between everything else, because you're good at your job and you don't use it as a disguise so much as disappear inside it completely. He nods slowly. He doesn't fully believe you, but he doesn't fully dismiss you either. And somehow that's worse, isn't it? Dokes studies you with that sharp, unreadable stare of his, then tells you to go home because you look like hell. You say you will. You even make it sound believable. But you don't go home. Of course you don't. The night you go after Daniel falls on a Tuesday in November, cold enough to make the whole city feel muted. It's the kind of cold that drives people indoors fast, heads down, eyes forward, everyone too eager to get warm to notice what's happening around them. You chose Tuesday for a reason. On Tuesdays, his routine is at its thinnest, the most exposed. No dinner plans, no evening calls from his sister in Phoenix, no delivery orders bringing a stranger to his door, nothing unpredictable, nothing that gets in the way. The storage facility sits in darkness except for one lonely light burning above the entrance. You disabled the secondary camera feed 20 minutes earlier from a junction box 2 blocks away. A neat little trick you picked up while working a break-in case 3 years ago. Useful things stay with you. Inside, the unit smells like rust, old wood, and something deeper, something foul hiding beneath the surface. You recognize it instantly because nearly your entire professional life has been built on recognizing exactly that smell. He keeps trophies. Of course he does. Men like Daniel always need reminders of what they've done. They need proof. They need possession. You spend exactly 4 minutes inside the unit. No more, no less. And when you leave, you have confirmation of everything you already knew. The evidence is there. All of it. Enough to convict him 20 times over. The problem is that none of it can be touched by the system now. It was found illegally by someone who entered private property without a warrant. That means it's useless in court. It means Daniel walks free. It means the evidence belongs to no one but you. You step back into the cold before you allow yourself to think about what comes next, and what comes next takes another week. You watch him carefully. You learn the last details that matter, which exit he favors, when the lights shut off, how many seconds pass between locking up and starting the car. Every small movement counts. Every gap matters. Each night before sleeping, for 2 straight weeks, you run through the rules again and again. He killed 9 women. He will kill more. The system cannot reach him. You can. The rules still hold. When the night finally comes, it unfolds the way nights like this are supposed to when you plan them properly, quietly, cleanly, without surprises. Daniel isn't surprised because surprise is something you plan out of existence. Nothing dramatic happens. Drama is for amateurs, for people trying to prove something. You're not proving anything. Afterward, you drive 37 miles to a boat launch you've used twice before and sit there alone in the dark. The water is black, still, endless. You think about the 9 women whose names you memorized before any of this began. That's another rule. You always learn their names first. It doesn't make you feel better. It was never meant to. Then you drive home. You shower. You make coffee. At 7:45, you walk into the lab, and Masuka is already there with headphones on, arguing into his phone about something completely unrelated to forensics. He sees you, points at a fresh cup of coffee waiting on your desk, and keeps talking without missing a beat. You sit down, pull up the case files, and begin working. An hour later, Dokes crosses through the lab without stopping and looks at you for exactly 2 seconds longer than necessary. You look back at Dokes, and for one brief second, the moment hangs there, sharp and weightless. Then he keeps walking, like nothing passed between you at all. You turn back to your screen and open Daniel's file. Missing person report. Filed by his sister in Phoenix. You read every line with the same care you bring to everything else, slow and exact, noticing what matters and what doesn't. Then you add your own notes, clean, detailed, professional, the work of someone experienced, someone reliable, someone who fully expects to keep doing this for a very long time. The file will eventually say that you will find Daniel when the right person gets around to reading it. The truth is, you already have. Haven't you? The report sits in the system for 11 days before anyone officially takes ownership of it. 11 days, his sister calls twice from Phoenix, worry sharpening her voice a little more each time. The second call gets routed to Dokes. He writes things down with that same controlled precision he brings to everything, then tells her they're looking into it. You hear the whole exchange from across the bullpen without ever lifting your eyes from the monitor. Dokes follows standard procedure, credit card activity, last known movements, cell phone data. The phone is lying at the bottom of a river 30 miles outside the city, though he won't know that yet. Maybe he'll learn it eventually. But the river is wide, the current has been hard and fast since October, and the word eventually is doing a lot of work there, isn't it? 3 days later, he stops at your desk. Not because he suspects you exactly. Not yet. It's because you know more about Daniel than almost anyone in the building. 2 weeks before Daniel disappeared, you had volunteered to cross-reference his background against open cases. You did that on purpose. It's always easier to manage what people uncover when you are the one helping uncover it. You worked his background, Doak says. Not a question. Briefly, you answer. Cold case cross-reference. Nothing connected. He studies your screen, the open files, and then your hands. Your hands are steady, always steady, because you learned a long time ago that hands are where people betray themselves. A twitch, a shift, a tremor. That's where the truth leaks out, and you have never, not once, leaked anything. You find anything useful, he asks. Nothing that changes the picture, you say, and that is technically true. He lingers another second. Dokes is the kind of man who trusts his instincts even when he can't explain them, and that's what makes him so good at his job, and so inconvenient for you. He doesn't like the way you look at crime scenes. You heard him say it once, not realizing you were close enough to catch every word. Too comfortable, he'd said, like he's been here before. He wasn't wrong. He just has no idea what to do with being right. Keep me posted if anything surfaces, he says at last. Of course, you reply smoothly. He walks away. 30 seconds later, Masuka drops into the space beside you with a question about fiber samples from a completely unrelated case. Already talking before he's fully seated, filling the silence the way only he can. You answer him. You even make a small joke. He laughs far too loudly, grins and heads back to his desk. Around you, the bullpen hums and rattles with life. Cases move through the machine. Evidence is tagged, processed, logged, archived. And you do your job the way you always do. Carefully, thoroughly, better than almost anyone in the room. Nobody notices a thing. They never do. You eat lunch alone most days. Not because you're incapable of performing the small social rituals that come with sharing a table, making conversation, pretending interest at the right moments. You can do all of that, and sometimes you do, because too much isolation sends its own message, and you have no interest in sending messages to anyone. But eating alone gives you 20 full minutes of silence, a window, and that soft wash of afternoon light that always seems to pull your thoughts back to your father. It makes you wonder about the version of you he shaped so carefully. Is this what he meant to create? Is this exactly who he wanted you to become? You think it is. You think he meant to build someone who could do what had to be done without collapsing under the weight of it. Someone who understood early that the world does not sort itself out, that justice does not arrive neatly on schedule, and that sometimes one person has to set things right from the inside, quietly, invisibly, with no credit, no reward, and no one ever knowing your name in connection with the real work of your life. There's something strangely peaceful about that, isn't there? A cold kind of peace, maybe, but peace all the same. You've never said that out loud to anyone, and you never will. Daniel's case remains open. It will stay open for a long time, too. Dokes will work it the way he works everything else. Hard, methodical, pushing right up to the edge of what the evidence can support and never quite stepping over. Eventually, he'll find the shell company. Eventually, he'll locate the storage unit. And when he sees what's inside, everything he thought he knew about the missing biology teacher with the clean record and the dog named after a president will shatter. He'll finally understand what Daniel really was. He'll understand why someone might have decided the system was moving too slowly, why someone might have chosen not to wait for it to catch up. But he'll never be able to prove who made that choice. You'll make certain of that. Absolutely certain. At 6 o'clock, you close the laptop. Masuka is still at his desk, headphones on, eating something that smells powerfully and unapologetically like fish. He lifts a hand in your direction without looking up, and you return the gesture as you pass. Outside, the city is doing what cities always do in the early evening. Lights flickering on, traffic thickening, people rushing between the places they've left and the places they're trying to reach. You walk to your car and sit behind the wheel for a moment before turning the key. Somewhere in a river 30 miles east, a phone rests in cold silt with 17 missed calls trapped inside it. Somewhere in a storage unit, Dokes is going to discover something that turns his stomach. Somewhere in Phoenix, a woman is going to answer a phone call that ends one version of her life and begins another. You start the engine. There are 12 open cases waiting on your desk. 3 of them already hold details no one else has noticed yet. You'll get to them this week or next week or whenever the pattern sharpens enough to demand action. You can wait. Patience is the center of everything. Your father taught you that too. You pull out of the garage and into the evening traffic, heading home while thinking about nothing at all, which is its own discipline. Maybe one of the hardest ones. The ability to empty your mind between the moments that require all of it. Tomorrow you'll be back at your desk by 7:30. The coffee will already be made. The file's already open. Masuka already talking too loudly. Dokes will cross the bullpen, and his eyes will find you the way they always do now, carrying that look that hasn't turned into suspicion yet, but seems more comfortable every day in its current shape. You'll meet his gaze the same way you always have. Steady, calm, unreadable, exactly what you've always been. The work goes on. It always will.